And I think since the weather has come up, I'm going to go ahead and unmute Lewis here. He lives in Walden. He's a former ranger at State Forest State Park, and he still works with Colorado Parks and Wildlife. He say he's the best authority on the local weather right now.
Except that I haven't looked at the forecast, so that makes me not the greatest authority. So far this year, we've been a little bit drier as far as actual rain down here low and even up high. There's been some storms kind of coming through, and they kind of hit the peaks and move on, and still not a lot of moisture up high. For outlook stuff for weather forecasts, I haven't looked for next weekend, but I use NOAA. I use any of the radar, where you can go and watch the radar and watch the storms roll across Colorado and out of Utah, that kind of thing. So really any of the big ones that you can look at the broad picture. We do have a weather station here. It's at the airport, but it's in the town of Walden, which is 20 miles away from where the race starts, and it's down in the flatland, not up in the mountains where the race is actually going to be. So it's not great, but sometimes you can kind of derive from it, take it, and then just assume it's going to be more of whatever if you go up to 10,000, 11,000 feet.
Yeah, so one good tip for mountain forecasts, so you can go to, there's mountainweather.com and a couple of other mountain forecast websites that you can use. So if you want to get like a local peak or a peak local to where the course is going to be, you might want to try Mount Richthofen, which is the high point in the Never Summer Mountains. That sits right above Lake Agnes, so that'll give you a spot-on forecast. Or Clark Peak, which is the high point in the Medicine Bow Mountains. So either of those would be good peaks to search for if you're doing a mountain forecast search. I have had a peek at the weather forecast for next weekend, and it looks like we have some fairly stormy weather on the way in. So, but it's a mountain weather forecast, and we are still 6 days out. So,
on average, they say that mountain forecasts are about 50% accurate. So I look at that and say, okay, if it says 0% chance of rain or 100% chance of rain, that means 50% chance.
But generally speaking, Lewis, we can expect afternoon thunderstorms, chance of?
I would say so. We're getting storms rolling through, just not a lot of moisture coming out of them. But yeah, I'd say almost any day up here, we expect afternoon thunderstorms. And you guys know that any month up here we can have snow. So there's no doubt in my mind that it could snow today or Saturday or in September. So we, it's the high mountains and stuff rolls in, and when it hits quick. It'll be a gorgeous blue day, and then all of a sudden you'll be in a hailstorm out, you're out in the woods unguarded. So carry gear with you, which I think they recommend anyway, just because what we've seen from the past. I just saw that the chat come up. If there's any snow on the trail, I would doubt it. You guys have covered all the trail, but most of it's not in the couple gullies that are still holding snow up there.
Yeah, the course is pretty much 100% snow free. There might be a little bit hanging on up above Kelly Lake in Hidden Valley. So that's about mile 35 or so on the course. That's really the only spot where there might be some snow on the course as of next weekend.
Nick, you'll be covering the whole course between Wednesday and Thursday marking, so you'll have a final report before the race start.
Correct. So yeah, Lewis mentioned, so for this year, we are strongly recommending a gear list for a number of different reasons. First and foremost, because it's just sensible gear to be carrying when you're up high in the mountains above tree line. So what we're strongly suggesting, and hope that everybody packs and brings with them whilst on course, is a rain jacket, wind jacket, a hat, and pair of gloves. and also I might have to move inside. The wind is really picking up here. And the capacity to carry 40 ounces of water with you. So we're doing this, yeah, like I said, number one, because it's just common sense whilst running up in the mountains, but also we really want you to be more than ever self-sufficient this year. So if there is weather up high, putting on a jacket will, has the potential to save your race. The wind and rain, if you're up on Montgomery Pass, can turn a 60, 70-degree day into hypothermia in a hurry. But if you have a jacket and a hat and gloves on, then you'll be just fine. Keep moving through. And
if you put them on as soon as it starts, don't wait till you get cold and then try to put them on to warm back up. Put that jacket on as soon as it starts raining.
And so we really want to help our volunteers out at the aid stations out this year and not have to extract folks off the course unless, it's a medical emergency. Each year at Montgomery, we take one or two folks down, sometimes more, due to not hypothermia, but feeling extremely cold and not wanting to go on. So that's my little bit about gear. Brad, we have a question here from Todd. He's asking about the open split time link. When's that going live?
The open split time link should be live now. I have not uploaded the participants yet, but the base race should be up.
So
Todd,
it's going to a 404 page.
Yeah, Todd, can you comment where that link that's erroring out is located so that I can get it fixed? And yeah, tomorrow morning I will be uploading all the participants to open split time so that your friends and family watching from home can go ahead and subscribe to your updates. But yeah, the event itself is live right now. Nick, looks like next question's about swag.
Swag. Will there be an opportunity to order purchase? Yes. So we'll have gear on site. So obviously anybody who pre-ordered it with their registration, we'll have that waiting for you. And then we'll also have these new Never Summer hats available. What else we got? We have some hoodies. Those are old favorites, and trucker hats, Never Summer trucker hats. And everybody is going to get one of these, the NAR Runners buff, all runners and volunteers. This will work as your required mask when you're coming into aid stations or at the start finish. So all runners and volunteers will be getting one of those, and we will also have buffs available for sale on site in case anybody in your crew or pacer team neglects or forgets to bring their mask. So that is the swag apparel question.
Let me hop back on. Todd, thanks for mentioning that. And yeah, sorry, everyone, you were correct. I had not made the event live. I thought I had, but I was mistaken. So I will work on that as soon as the meeting is done.
Cool. Okay, Kimberly is asking if there's any snowpack on trail. Yes, but you'd have to work hard to find it or enjoy it. Like I was just saying, really, I think the only part of the course where it will be unavoidable is above Kelly Lake, and I haven't been up there in a couple of weeks, so it may well all be melted out by now. But even in a dry year, we have a bit of snow up there above Kelly Lake, so mile 35 or so. Other than that, it should be all clear. There will be water down low on the return. So from Kelly, some clearly Canadian back to the finish, there'll be a good amount of water in the swampier areas of the course.
If we're not sending you above tree line, we want you to have some fun out there.
Okay, so any snowpack. Okay, can you describe the procedures for arriving and starting at the race?
So packet pickup on Friday will officially be rolling by 1 o'clock. So assuming that there's not any inclement weather, packet pickup will be outside this year. Packets are pre-packed. They're just going to be setting out on the picnic tables in alphabetical order. You find your pack, you come over to the station where we have the quick read thermometers, get your temperature checked, and you're done. Same procedure applies if you're arriving in the morning as opposed to on Friday. If you have not signed your waiver ahead of time, then you will have one additional line to get in. Your packet will not be sitting out because we need your signature on that waiver first. So please get it signed ahead of time. And then for starting the race in the morning, Nick?
Yeah, so we're working this week on a parking expansion. Just off the phone with our skid steer operator. I think pretty, I mean, we have ample parking as it is, but this will be, we really want it to, this is a project we've been wanting to do for a while. I'm pretty sure we're going to have it completed by Wednesday, just so we have a little extra space to spread out this year. But the procedure, if you are camping Friday night, Saturday night, you'll be parking in the main lot that we use on the GCC property. If you are pulling in Saturday morning to park, then we'll be parking you in a side parking area so that we can segregate parking from runner action as best as possible. But we'll have parking volunteers and marshals who will be well briefed, and we'll be able to answer all your questions if you have them when you arrive.
And let me hop back on John's question real quick. He was asking procedures for starting the race.
Oh, okay,
so yeah, we have waves of 10 people setting out every 5 minutes. We ask that you wait, either if you're camping at the start finish, wait at your campsite until a half hour before your start, or if you're driving in, wait in your car until a half hour before your start to avoid getting too big of a crowd around the start line. A, because it's confusing, it's dark, we want to make sure we're sending off the right people and everyone can hear us, and B, because 50 is the magic number in terms of the size of crowd we want to avoid.
Yeah, so I guess the bullet on that is half an hour before your wave start time, you can start kind of getting things ready at the start, which will be right by the community center building. Let's see here. Would like to hear about, okay, and then Todd, I believe. Oh, okay, that's in response to Brad, the 404.
But then there's a question there too on the second half from Todd.
Oh, how much are the hats? So these ones are $30, and we also have trucker hats that are 25, I believe. I'm pretty sure, almost certain.
And we will be able to take credit cards.
Yes, we will be able to take credit cards. Which reminds me, Brad, bring the square swipe. Now he's going to show me he's got it in his handbag.
Show and tell, of course.
Perfect. All right, Duncan, is there a 60K course description, or is it really straightforward? Do we have an actual description on the website, Brad?
So we have the GPX file, and we have the aid station splits. We do not have a written, we did not add a section in the full written turn-by-turn description for the 60K.
But we do have the map, right?
Right.
Up there, yes. Duncan, so just super quickly, so the 60K course will follow the 100K course as far as the Montgomery aid station. And then for 2.5 miles further down the Montgomery 4x4 road. And then so for the 100K course, there's a turn off of the Montgomery road onto the Yurt Trail, what we call the South Yurt Trail. 60K runners will go past that, take the Montgomery Road all the way down to the bottom of the Montgomery Road where it tees with the Bachman Road. So that's about an extra 1.25 miles on the Montgomery Road. And then it's a right about 3/4 mile on the Bachman Road over to the Bachman aid station, which is the last aid station on the 100K course, and will be your last aid station on the 60K course.
So everything with the 60K course is contained in the 100K description, except for that about 3 miles from the yurt turn to the Bachman aid station.
Yeah, 2 miles. And of
yes,
course,
it is also straightforward.
Yes, straightforward, and will be incredibly well marked with pink flagging and pink pin flags. Pink is always our color when we are marking courses.
And of course, marshal at that key turn.
And of course, marshal at that key turn. Let's see here. Brett, thanks for your hard work. You're welcome. Make this happen. It's been one of the very few things to look forward to, yeah. Yes, I assume we will get our campsite to check in. Yeah, so just quickly on campsites. Yeah, so when you check in, you'll get a camping pass to put in your vehicle. And if you're car camping, then we'll have a car camping area. If you are tent camping, then it's dispersed camping around the property. And there's plenty of room, and that'll be on a first come, first served basis for the spots.
Yeah. No designated sites. It's just open dispersed camping. Find the best place that you see.
Lots of great places. Okay, Brad, are spectators allowed to come and hang around outside of aid station boundaries?
So that one is a hard no. There was quite a debate of whether crews and pacers could even be allowed this year. And when it comes to spectators, we simply have to say no. Our permit only allows for 2 additional people per runner max. And if your crew is not going there to actively help you at an aid station, we do ask that they not go to that aid station. Again, it's all about keeping crowds down and that magic number of no more than 50 people at any place at any time.
I guess a little further clarification on that. I mean, if you're talking about out on course randomly, you know, the park, of course, and trails are open to the public. We just ask that, you know, your 2, either your crew or pacer, those 2 are the only 2 you bring to the actual aid stations themselves. Otherwise, areas like Lake Agnes, you know, we don't have any restrictions there. It's not an aid station. It is a good place to spectate. Other areas on course, if you wanted to. But for the aid stations, we have to keep the critical mass of folks down, which is why we have to restrict it to 2 only. John is asking, what's the bug pressure level? Lewis, you got any thoughts on bugs?
Let me unmute him here. Let's just say I'm buying all of the aid stations, the 40% DEET level, the deep woods. This time of year up there, there are mosquitoes. You will notice them.
It doesn't seem like they've been as bad this summer, and that might be due to the lack of moisture we've had. Lewis, any thoughts?
They were pretty bad down low, but I didn't see them bad up high. Like down here by the lakes and stuff, they were real bad. But then the last week or so, they've gotten better. And up high, I think you're right that they weren't as bad as normal. So I don't know. I still put on bug spray, but I still think it doesn't work. So good luck.
Okay.
I see along with that, just skipping ahead real quick, will aid stations have sunscreen or bug spray? Yes, every aid station will have both sunscreen and bug spray. It's all going to be spray form. We don't want to get a whole bunch of hands on the same bottles. So if you need either applied, ask a volunteer. They will spray you, no contact.
Okay, we have a 2-part question from Paul. When will drop bags be available on Sunday morning? The answer to that question is all drop bags by probably 4 a.m. I would imagine. Bachman closes down at 3 by the end of the race for sure. Clear Lake by 3. But they'll be available after the finish of the race. Whether or not they've been sorted is a different question, but 7, 8 a.m. for sure.
I always tell my volunteers at the end of a long shift, especially if they're ending at night, don't make a trip back to the start finish if you're really sleep deprived and it's not safe to drive. Once you finish your shift, grab some sleep, then bring the drop bags back. Usually they're gung-ho enough that they just come back right away anyway, but their safety comes first.
I think all drop bags from Ruby Jewel forwards on the course should be back Saturday evening.
Ruby Jewel backwards?
Ruby Jewel backwards, yeah.
Yeah, so that's Ditch, Diamond, Montgomery, and Ruby back by sundown, sundown on Saturday.
Second part of the question, which sections do you recommend carrying extra water? Okay, excellent question. So first 11 miles of the course, it's cool morning. That's one of the longest stretches between aid station, start to the first aid station, but obviously it's cooler. So probably not as big a need there. Definitely from Diamond aid station to Montgomery. It's not the longest stretch, but you are up high for a long time. So make sure you have adequate water there. And then from Montgomery to Ruby Jewel is, again, not a huge stretch in terms of mileage, but that you've been up high, so you might have a little bit dehydration starting from being up high exposed for a while. And then the Yurt Trail is pretty slow going. So even though, what is that, Brad, between Montgomery and Ruby Jewel? That's
6.2.
6.2 miles, but it's a slow 6.2 miles, and that's going to be kind of the heat of the day right there. So for that stretch, and then definitely between Ruby Jewel and Clearly Canadian. That's really your longest stretch in terms of time between aid stations. And again, you're up above tree line there, so that's going to play into thirst factor. So definitely on that stretch.
Once you leave Ruby, basically you have an average of 8 miles between aid stations from there to the finish. So Ruby to Clearly Canadian, Clear Lake out and back, Clearly Canadian to Bachman, Bachman into finish. You're going to be probably 2 hours between every single one of those aid stations. So plan to carry at least a liter, if not more, every section at Ruby and after for sure.
Yeah, and Ruby Jewel to Clearly Canadian is probably going to be your longest stretch time on feet between aid stations. We do have a safety check up at Kelly Lake, kind of halfway through, and they will be filtering water, but that's really just for emergency purposes. So we always ask runners to carry enough water to get themselves between Ruby Jewel and Clear Lake. Aid stations. Okay, that was the follow-up question to the one earlier. Is it still swampy past Bachman, or is that to the finish generally dry? It is, for the most part, pretty much dry. We haven't been up on Gould Mountain when we were there, Brad, 3 weeks ago. You were up there, right?
Yeah, and we've made it able to be more swampy than usual up there.
Yeah, but it dries out up there, and I don't know, what are you like? Once you hit the spot that has potential for swampiness, you're 3 to 4 miles from the finish, and I'm going to guess by now it's pretty dry through there. So I shouldn't worry too much about wet feet from Bachman onwards.
And what I was mentioning about Gould Mountain, we took a team up there during trail work days, and we de-stopped that entire mountain. So if you've been up there at night before and know that there's all those 1-inch high stumps that just trip you for miles on end, we got rid of all of them. If you find any, I will go up there personally and rip it out.
The course gets a little bit quicker every year as we make slight improvements. Okay, Brad, we got a question on waiver forms. Where do we get them?
I think first Duncan was asking about North Diamond. I don't see a question on waiver forms. Maybe they just sent it to you.
Oh, okay, it came to me privately.
Can you read it?
Yes, where do we get waiver forms?
So the waiver is online. It's linked at the top of the race website, at the top of the Ultra sign-up page for the race. It's been in pretty much every email that we've sent to each runner.
I think this is from a volunteer.
Volunteer, okay. You should have gotten a way too long email from me with all the details and more about your volunteer assignment, and the waiver link should be at the top of that. I don't know if I put it at the exact top, but if you don't see that email or you can't find the link, again, at the top of the homepage for the race itself, or on Ultra Sign Up, or just email me.
Okay. All right. Do you have to touch a pole at the top of Diamond? Well, funnily enough, there is a pole at the top of Diamond, but you don't have to touch it. So we'll have 3 folks at the top of Diamond who are with the race. They are from the Diamond Peaks Ski Patrol. And they'll be accompanied by a ham operator. Is that right, Brad?
One of them is a ham.
One of them is a ham. So you'll just check in with them, and there's not an official checkpoint there, but yeah, you just crest the summit, and if you feel like you need to touch the pole to feel like you've officially summited, then go right ahead. But it is not mandated. We also have, so there's an out and back to Clear Lake, which is the last lake that you'll visit on the course. And then we'll have a couple of volunteers up there who you'll be checking in with.
And they're actually on this call, Rick and Cecilia. I see them here.
There they are.
Yep, they're going to be your Clear Lake check-in folks. They're just going to hang out by an alpine lake all day with a list, and they have a special stamp for your bib that they will mark to show that you visited the lake.
Bring bug spray.
Yes. I see a pair of questions about temperature check. Yes, so just to reiterate that, temperature checks will be available all day, well, starting at 1 o'clock on Friday. If the gate is open on the community center and you see us around, I'll keep the thermometers handy, but yeah, anytime from 1 until close on Friday, you can stop by and get your temperature check, as well as Saturday morning. And that's open for runners, crews, pacers, volunteers, anybody.
So we've had a few questions from folks about the status of the race as far as Western States and UTMB qualification status is concerned. So the race is indeed still, this year's race is a qualifier for Western States 2022.
Yes, so Western States, when they canceled this year, they rolled over the entire entrant list and wait list to 2021. So the next year that you can get in via the lottery is 2022. So to help make up for that, they have expanded their qualifying window to 2 years. So you can run a race this year in 2020 to qualify for 2022.
And then for UTMB, it remains a 4-point ITRA point race. So you'll get 4 points for completing the course if you're looking to get into the UTMB lottery or any other races that require those ITRA points over in Europe, if they'll ever have us back. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, Western States, just on that qualifier piece. You of course have to finish under 23 hours. That was what Western States came up with. They said if you can finish Never Summer in under 23 hours, then you're qualified to enter the Western States lottery. All right. Got a question here from Mike. Can you talk about the aid stations in terms of easiest to get to, hardest to get to for crew?
Probably the easiest would be Bachman. It's the last crew access station. It's you can drive up to it, and at that point in the race, everyone's spread out enough that you can probably park pretty close. Diamond is the other drive-up one, but it tends to be a bit more crowded. Some folks have to park up to a mile away, depending on timing. Those are the two that we advertise as drive-up. For the two that are hike-in for crew access, so that would be Ruby Jewel and the crew rally point. Ruby Jewel, your hike can be up to 2 miles, usually closer, but it is an uphill hike. The crew rally point is more like a 2.5 mile hike, but it starts with a mile of gradual downhill and then another 1.5 miles of gradual uphill. It's longer, but it's easier terrain.
Yeah. If you're looking for a nice hike for a spot to check out your runner, or if your crew is, you know, wanting to get a nice hike in, a really good spot to cheer your runner on is up at Lake Agnes. That's super early in the race. So that's mile 9 or so on the course. And the hike, so there's a Lake Agnes trailhead, which it's a rough road, but it is 2-wheel drive accessible. And
Don't
the hike in, yeah.
I tried it in my Prius. Don't do it in a Prius.
Okay, don't do it in your Prius, or I guess your Tesla. But most other 2-wheel drive vehicles will get you up there. But anyway, it's about a 3/4 mile hike uphill, steep, 500 or 600 feet probably. But it's super scenic up there, and it's just a great spot. And your runners are like 8 miles in, 9 miles in. They've summited 7 Utes, and here they are in wonderful Lake Agnes. So they're full of life, happy, and all that. So that's a good spot to cheer on runners.
It probably is worth noting that with this year's wave starts and earlier starts, probably about half the runners will be going by Lake Agnes in the dark or twilight.
Yeah, true enough.
I think we've made it through. Oh, there's a fresh question. I was going to say, keep throwing questions into the chat and we will respond as they come in. Nick, do you know the sun schedule?
Oh, sorry. What's 1 second? What's the question here? Do you know when we can expect to have enough daylight to see? So typically we start the race at 5:30 in the morning. And we started at 5:30 in the morning because that is just about when there's adequate sunlight or light to run and navigate by. 5:15, I'm going to say 5 if you got really good eyesight, but yeah, 5:15, 5:30.
Yeah, and the first 2 miles are on smooth double track. It's not particularly technical, so if you're not trip prone, then you should be fairly well in that section in the twilight.
Yeah. So we'll have the as far as the nighttime sections at the start of the race, for those runners that are starting super early, we'll have it marked for nighttime running through to American Lakes. I think by the time our lead runners, so we're starting our waves fastest through the slowest so that we can stretch the field as much as possible. So our fastest runners will be starting at 2:55, 3 o'clock. So by 5:30, they'll be up in the American Lakes. So we'll have it marked for nighttime through to American Lakes, right behind the No-Coup Crags. Some of you will get the sunrise on top of 7 Utes, which will be quite spectacular, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Some right up in American Lakes, some at Lake Agnes potentially, and anywhere in between.
Chris asks an excellent question. Are you DNF if you miss your start wave? No, you are not DNF if you miss your start wave. There are 2 things that to incentivize you against missing your start wave. Number 1, the clock does start when your wave starts. So you are losing time against the cutoffs if you miss your start wave. And the second piece is we can only start 10 people per wave, so we can't necessarily automatically throw you into the next wave that starts. You have to wait for the next wave that has fewer than 10 people. About half of them do, and we'll probably have a few more no-shows. But if you miss your wave and the next 2 or 3 all have 10 people show up, you're going to be waiting a few more minutes. But you are not DNF if you miss your wave.
Okay, Duncan's asking, is there any good questions from the other Q&A on Wednesday that we answered that haven't been asked? And nothing is springing immediately to mind for me. So we'll move right on to Chris's question. If a spectator friend gives me a muffin on the side of a course, am I a DNF if I eat it? Yeah, so this is pretty standard across most trail and ultra races, that support is only available to runners at aid stations. So yeah, and there have been issues other races you may or may not be aware of, with runners getting outside support out of the aid stations, and yeah, that's technically a DNFable situation. Again,
odds are we'll work with everyone to come up with a compromise penalty, but it's not kosher, we'll put it that way.
And then, yeah, I guess we're reasonably flexible on, in general proximity of the aid station. So if your crew is really trying to create space for themselves, then, the definition of the aid station area has definitely been expanded this year.
Yeah. And we'll say it, crews are fine as long as they're within sight of the aid station. Now that doesn't mean like park down in the valley and you can see the top of a tent 5 miles up the hill, and that's, you're within sight of the aid station now. But we're not going to be setting a strict boundary of 200 yards or 400 yards. We know that spacing is more important this year. And to give an example of a past situation, we had a runner a couple of years ago who accidentally missed the out and back to Clear Lake, and didn't realize it, finished the race. By our rules, that would be a DNF, but we talked with the runner, we talked with their crew. It was completely an accident. So what we came up with as a solution was they got a time penalty equal to the split for the slowest runner on that section. So they would have finished in about 17 hours, and instead they got a total time of just above 20 hours. So that was how we came up with that solution.
Okay, Jeff asks, do volunteers pick up t-shirt, oh, this is a private question, to t-shirts when we temp check Friday night? So the t-shirts are packed in aid station kits, right?
Yep. So yeah, your captain will have those in with all the supplies.
Yeah.
And all volunteers get a buff too, same situation.
I have a feeling this might be a ham operator. Those also, yeah, your aid station captain will have your t-shirts. What are the expected temperatures at the start and finish? Okay, actually that's a good question, one that we did get on Wednesday and haven't addressed yet today. So really the temperatures can range from low 30s at the start, so through the night, lows in the low 30s, and then I guess depending on when you finish, if you're finishing kind of evening, then you can probably expect similar temperatures depending what time at night you're finishing. During the day, temperatures can get up into the high 70s, low 80s, but will feel a whole lot hotter without any cloud cover. And of course, with the extra elevation, it will feel a whole lot hotter. If it's a high of 75, it's going to feel a whole lot hotter than that. But yeah, it has the potential to be very cold. Obviously, if there's any moisture that comes down, so if you're finishing with wet clothing, then that 35-degree ambient air temperature will feel a whole lot colder. So please make sure that you do have a finish line drop bag, and it with warm, dry clothing for you to change into.
And speaking of drop bags and dry, just to reiterate, we can't promise to keep drop bags protected from the elements. So please, if you're counting on dry clothes, dry food, waterproof your bags. Personally, I like to use gallon Ziplocs either as my drop bag or to put the key things inside my main bag, just so there's that layer of protection. We'll do our best, but help yourself out.
Okay, what time can we check in on Friday? So packet pickup begins at 1 p.m. On Friday, and it runs through 7. We have expanded the hours this year. Typically, we're 3 through 7. So yeah, you can begin checking in at 1. Also, can you still camp at the community center Saturday night? Yeah, so if you've booked or reserved a spot at the community center, that is for Friday and Saturday night.
And new reservations, Nick? How's our waiting list looking for camping?
Yeah, so if you're still looking for a spot, we are taking waitlist reservations. It's going to be somewhat dependent on how the expansion goes, but I'm quietly confident. But shoot us an email at racedirector@narrunners.com and we'll have a conversation. Okay. My 2 kids would like to be my support crew at Diamond, Ruby Jewel, and Bachman. They've registered as crew and completed the required waivers. I respect the requirement and the firm line in the race protocol for 2 sport per runner. Is it okay for my wife to drive them to these aid stations as long as she stays in the car? The answer to that is yes, right?
We don't want to encourage it. Just having more people around makes it slightly more risky. But if a third person is staying in the car at all times, and that includes at the start finish, then technically it does not increase the crowds at each site. I'm going to hop on to a couple of the seed questions that we had from last time. So in terms of aid station food, all the runners should have gotten a menu a couple emails ago. Basically, we've cut the selection in half from previous years, just keeping things simple, lessening our volunteer requirement in terms of numbers. But our goal is to have a little bit of something from every category of food. So salty snack, sweet snack, substantial food like a wrap or a quesadilla, hot food. Pretty much at every aid station, there's a chance for cold weather wherever on the course. And then ice and cold for the ones that you will hit during the day. We're trying to focus on the types of food that you can't easily pack in your drop bags. So again, ice, fruit, soup, things like that. But when it comes to the snacks that can come out in individual packages or things like that, there will not be much for chips, cookies, candy, that sort of thing. So if those are some of your go-to race fuel, pack them in your drop bags. We still have when I say we've cut the menu in half, we have the same total number of calories on course. You can still eat as much as usual. We've just have the number of items and doubled the quantities of each. Nick, do you want to real quick go over how it works if mid-race they want to switch from the 100K to the 60K?
Yeah, so for this year, we have introduced the 60K distance and made that available for folks to drop down to pre-race. If the training hasn't kind of been where you would have hoped given the situations this year. So we do have the 60K option, which we are going to continue moving forward for future years. But one option that runners who are registered and starting in the 100K race, if you're not feeling it, when you get up to Montgomery aid station and you think you're feeling like another 40 miles perhaps isn't in the cards for you this year, we're giving you the option to trade down to the 60K course for a couple of reasons. Number one, we really want to see you finish whether that be the 60K or the 100K distance, but it also helps us not have to extract runners from Montgomery, which is a really tough aid station to access and get. I mean, we have to get all the gear down from Montgomery, and adding in dropped runners to that equation is always tough. We get it done every year, but we would really like to avoid having to do that this year. So you do have the option when you get to Montgomery to decide, okay, I'm going to just take my 60K finish. So if that, is your decision this year, we ask that you check in with our timers and ham operators to let them know that you're making the decision to drop down to 60K. We'll mark your bib so that our marshal at the 60K, 100K split knows that you've made that decision. And then you'll continue down the Montgomery Road and follow the markings around to the Bachman aid station and complete your 60K journey.
I see a couple questions on the chats and aid stations. I'll just roll through those real quick. So yes, the live chats are recorded. We've posted them on our YouTube channel and in the Facebook event. I should probably spread them around a little more in case you're not a social media user. The last chat got cut off at about the 40-minute mark. That was my fault. My internet router freaked out and just lost the stream. But we have 75% of this one, or of the last one. And then this one, still going strong, 48 minutes, knock on wood. Hopefully should capture the whole thing as a recording. And then aid stations. So Kimberly asks, does a runner have to pick up their own food or can a crew pick up food for them? So real quick, the procedure for getting food at an aid station, when you come in to get food, you're going to walk up to an empty table. There's not going to be communal bowls or anything where lots of hands can reach in and grab. You'll walk up to the empty table, you'll tell the volunteer what you want. They will put it in an individual cup or plate and then set it on the table for you. Because this process, we know it's going to be a little bit slower. There may be times at aid stations that runners would need to wait in line to get their food. Crews would be welcome to get food for their runner. They would just need to follow the same procedures as everyone else, wait in line, step up to the table, say what you want, and then get that individual serving. And then of course, around the food table at every aid station is specifically the mask zone, and that applies to everyone, runners, volunteers, crews, etc. And will there be goo packs at aid stations? Yes, V-Fuel is a longtime sponsor of NAR. They're based just 40 minutes up the road from us, and their founder is running Never Summer this year. So V-Fuel is going to have salted apple caramel, vanilla, and variety pack gels. We have them stashed at every aid station on course.
We'll also have Bobo bars, sample bars, individually packed at all the aid stations this year too. So thanks to Bobo and Goo for supporting us with individually packaged nutrition. Okay, can I bring my own Ziploc bag for volunteers to fill with food? 2 thumbs up.
That is an excellent idea. Yeah, every aid station is going to have about 100 Ziploc bags, and I'm going to be telling them to go ahead and prepackage things and suggest to-go bags for runners to take along with. And if you have your own, that is excellent. We know the habits of a normal race. Probably not going to want to linger at aid stations as much, and that may lead to some people eating less. So we're going to do what we can to get as much food in you as possible. Also, to speed the process, every aid station will be posting a menu a half a mile before you get in, so that way you can arrive at the aid station knowing exactly what you want, not be lingering at the table, monitoring the selection. You can get in, get your food, get right back out.
All right, well, I guess we'll put out a last call for any final questions. We're approaching the hour mark here. Lots of great questions. I'll be up on site from Tuesday. I hope to get a conditions report out either on Instagram or the Facebook event page. We'll be marking the course Wednesday. The majority of it will be marked Wednesday, with the final few touch-ups on Thursday. So the course will be fully marked by Thursday around noon. If you want to go check out any short sections on a little shakeout run or anything. And yeah, we're thankful to State Forest State Park and Jackson County for approving our contingency plans and protocols for the situations we're dealing with this year. And we're excited to see you all, and thanks for believing in us and trusting us to put on a safe event. Our number one, always, our number one concern is safety of runners, volunteers, and staff, but especially so this year. We put these protocols and safety measures in place this year for your safety, for our volunteers' safety, for everybody's safety, for other park users' safety. We are serious about them. And thank you for, reading through the waivers, reading through all the emails and stuff that we sent out, and agreeing to follow by the rules, so that we can all have a super fun weekend up in the mountains. And hopefully, a successful race for everyone.
I see John has snuck in with one final question there. Are there GPS coordinates of the aid stations? I know they're not up on the website. Nick, do we have those specifically recorded that I can add them?
I mean, they're easy enough to pull. Yeah. I don't have them at hand right now, but
okay. But yeah, I'll see about adding those to the aid station page on the website, hopefully tomorrow. You can also extract them out of the GPX track if you have a little bit of tech savvy, but yeah, by tomorrow evening, we should have them there. And I want to give one more plug specifically to runners, crews, and pacers. So packet pickup, we'll have it both on site, Friday afternoon, Saturday morning. But if you want to avoid the crowds, you can pick up your packet locally here in Fort Collins on Tuesday or Wednesday at our sponsor Altitude Running. They're in South Fort Collins. All the packets will be there for everyone who has signed their waiver. If you have not signed your waiver by the end of the day tomorrow, then your packet will not be at Altitude. Or if you have crews or pacers who have signed their waiver, their identification bib will not be in your packet if they haven't done so by the end of the day Monday. So if they signed it on Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll still have it for you. On Friday or Saturday, you'll just need to pick it up then. So yeah, tomorrow night, it would be great to have everyone's waiver signature in, and that way we have the shortest lines possible.
All right, looks like one final question's trickled in here from Chris. Are there any junctions that we should pay extra attention to if we don't have GPS on our watches during the race? So the one, well, there's a couple of spots. I mean, first and foremost, the course will be very well marked. So you really shouldn't have to worry as long as you are paying attention to the course markings. So coming down the Montgomery Road, one spot where folks have missed a turn in the past is that turn onto the Yurt Trail. So that is the split for the 60K, 100K race this year, and we will have a marshal there. So we're super hopeful that nobody makes a wrong turn at that spot. But if you're continuing on the 100K course, then at that spot, so it's about 2 miles down the Montgomery Road, 2.5 miles down the Montgomery Road from the Montgomery aid station, that is a right turn onto the Yurt Trail. If you're in the 60K race, or you've decided that you want to drop down to the 60K distance, then it's straight past that turn to the bottom of the Montgomery Road.
One other place I'd say they should pay attention is if you've looked at the course as a whole, it's a figure 8. The pinch point in the middle is on Ruby Jewel Road. Each time that you hit Ruby Jewel Road, you turn right, and it will be exceedingly well marked, but that junction will not have a marshal at it. So pay attention when you're coming in toward Ruby Jewel Road, either between Montgomery and Ruby Jewel, or later between Clearly Canadian and Bachman. Pay attention at the junction where the trail comes into the road itself.
There are definitely other spots on the course that I could talk about, but I fear that that would just confuse people if you're not familiar with the area. So I won't. All I'll say is follow the course markings, pay attention. There are some areas of the course that are on non-maintained park trails. And so areas where you're going through meadows or fields or clear cuts. If you've never been up to State Forest State Park, it is a park that is, has had logging activity out there for decades. So parts of the course do go through old clear cuts. In those sections, you will always have pink flagging in line of sight. That includes meadow sections, and at night there will be LED lights in line of sight at all times. So just pay attention and you won't miss any turns. All right, so I think we'll wrap it up there, Brad.
Sounds good. And I will get the video posted on the Facebook page tonight and include the links for both the videos in the next email that goes out.
So thanks everybody for checking in with us, and looking forward to seeing you all next weekend.
Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Lewis.